Okay. We'll go all this finance and policy meeting, committee meeting to order. The date is October 4th, 2021. The time is 6:03. Better start early, we've been told. Members present are myself, Ms. Carol Coon, and Ms. Alan Kuznar. Mr. Madden, our city administrator, various other department heads, as well as Ms. Abercrombie, our finance director, and our human resources director, Mark Putnam, are also in attendance and will give us an update on Carol. First section here is public comment. We have anybody waving their arms online or in present for public comment?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Madden. Okay, next item we have is reading approval of minutes. These are for September 13th, 2021.
Motion to approve as submitted.
And a motion to approve as submitted the finance committee minutes for September 13th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a motion and second. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval as submitted. All right, next item is going to be city administrator budget review and general update. Mr. Matt.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we're 1 quarter in through this new fiscal year. The administration budget is within the 75% that it should be for this time of the year. I have no further updates at this time.
That just made me shake my head. It's crazy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Madden. Ms. Abercrombie, budget review, as well as bring a water bill.
Yes, the budget as it stands right now looks, comparable to where we were this time last year. So no real worries or anything to point out there. Just a couple of updates. I would like to update you on ARPA. All of our stuff on our end has been filed. It's been accepted. So we're just waiting for them to remit the funds. So just wanted to give you an update on that. Also, this year is a reassessment with Greenville County. And Greenville County goes out and reassesses all the properties and then lets the cities know their new assessed value. And associated with that comes a rollback of the millage. So the city of Mauldin has been rolled back 2.4 mils from 56.3 to 53.9. And our millage changed. A mill was worth 128,812. It is now worth 136,920. So just an update on that. And then our Greenville Water. They came up here about a week ago to meet with us, or to meet with me about a fee increase. And they collect our sewer maintenance fee on the water bills and charge us a fee in relation to that. They haven't gone up in numerous years. I believe the last was our fiscal year 2015. And so they are going to be implementing a slight fee increase on us for that. And I'll just giving you the information. I don't believe that there needs to be a budget amendment. I think we've had enough in the budget to cover this. And then we would account for it going forward in the future budgets. So just an update for that sentence. And that is all I have, unless you have any more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Abercrombie. So once you've submitted the paperwork for ARPA funds, the state has, I remember it's 30 days to.
Yes. What I was told when I inquired about it late last week was that once it had been approved by the company that they're using to do all of this, that it would be 7 to 14 days before they turn it around. So we're thinking it should be pretty soon.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Abercrombie on either item? Very good. Thank you, Ms. Abercrombie. Anybody else shocked by the water going up? All right, next item is going to be Mr. Mark Putnam, our Human Resources Director.
How are y'all? I want to let you know that with October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're engaging the employees to do some things to make them, make us more committed to that. We are having a raffle or a fundraiser for the Susan G. Cohen Foundation. So we're going to hopefully have some monies going there. And we're asking all employees to wear a pink on every Friday of this month. So you may see that as you come by. Also, we are in the starting really right to get in the middle of our insurance renewal period for this year. I will tell you that the gap insurance likes to go all the way through September. So we just got them the data last Thursday. We're going to have a meeting this Friday. I will caution you, this will not be a year like last year was. We will either be at max or just a little bit below when we come with claims. It's a lot different this year than it was last year. We've had a lot of claims and a lot of large claims. Not really looking at a lot of increase from our TPA, which is Anchor. Where I am a little bit nervous with is with our gap insurance. And gap insurance is where the city would pay the first 60,000 of a large claim. The gap insurance would pay everything above that. We have seen some not a lot, but we've seen enough large claims this year that I'm a little nervous about that. So we'll know a lot more in the middle of next month. So hopefully when I come back, I'll be discussing with that, going through Brandon to give you the final. Any questions?
Good, thank you, Mr. Putnam. Any questions? Yes, Ms. King.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. So in the past, we've talked about the possibility of joining forces with other Golden Strip cities. Are you still looking at that for insurance or?
We are. Simpsonville has actually joined the proactive part, and they are looking this year at Anchor. So we're really looking at that again, but they have joined the proactive part. Fountain, it just was not feasible for them this year to do that. So.
But do you think that even if hypothetically, if Simpsonville were to come on board and we could have a quote with, I mean, that would help with larger numbers, right? Theoretically.
Bigger pool,
Right.
to pull from. So that's one thing that Scott continues, which is our insurance person, broker. He has been working with them, and we keep talking with them there and trying to get that done. And that simply, just like you said, that gives us that bigger pool that would help out.
I just don't think people realize that that's all part of the numbers is when you have less than 200 employees or right at 200, that it's not like a large corp.
We're somewhere around 168 to 170, depending on how how the terminations or the new hires come. And when you're looking at that number, it doesn't take much to upset that part.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Thank you, Mr. Putnam. All right, easy enough. We have no unfinished business. We do, however, have new business. First item is going to be the acceptance of the donation for veterans. This is page 9 in your packet. Fairly straightforward. Mr. Matt, would you like to take that?
Sure, yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. What's before you is a request to accept a $1,151 donation from Ms. Sherbert for an engraved plaque in tribute to her late husband, former city police chief and Army veteran, Mr. Harold Sherbert. So staff is requesting that council accept the donation and the expenditure associated with it.
Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to forward to full council the recommendation to accept the donation of $1,151 from Mrs. Sherbert for the engraved plaque in tribute to her late husband, Mr. Harold Sherbert.
Very good. Ms. King, I have a motion to accept the donation from Ms. Sherbert for Mr. Harold Sherbert for a plaque in his tribute in the amount of $1,151. So I have a second.
Second.
Thank you. I have a second. Any other discussion on this item?
Just looking forward to seeing the new edition. I think this is wonderful.
I do too. This seems to be one of those easy things and fun to get to do and a neat thing to be a part of. Certainly, it's an honor to have someone who served not just this city, but the country. So, happy to thank them for that. So, all right, have a motion and a second with no other discussion. What do I hear on this item? All those in favor, I'm sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All those opposed? Carries unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I just do want to take one moment to recognize Ms. Sherbert. She's in the audience, right in the front. I just,
Mr. Madden, that would have been useful information before I embarrass myself here.
I apologize. I was trying to, this is my first time seeing Ms. Sherbert, so I was trying to pick it out, so I apologize.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for being with us, and certainly we appreciate again, not just your contribution, but especially your husbands. So thank you for coming and watching the city business here. Where are you at? Where were you at on that? Although had I gone over and introduced myself.
I was gonna say, process of elimination, Michael.
All right, next item we have on the agenda is going to be the procurement policy. This is something I asked Mr. Madden just to have back on here, so that because there were some changes made during the council meeting, if there were any questions or comments to what was changed, I want to give the committee a chance to review what was changed in the council meeting. So, there we go. So this was the policy for procurement policy for the contracts that was discussed in the September 2021 meeting. The noted change was for in item 4, department heads to spend up to 5,000 for budget items as currently defined in the procurement policy. Again, I just wanted this back on here just to give the committee a chance to vet it, see if there were any questions or comments from committee. Yes, Ms. Kuzma.
Okay, so number 5, that was also in the ordinance.
The original that came out of committee.
Yes. So that stayed the same, so, and it didn't change from council and back to committee. Is that correct?
Mr. Madden.
Number,
Item 5,
the
department heads and all other city employees may not execute such documents.
the amendment that was made at council was in reference to number 4.
Correct. So the only change that was made in the council meeting was for item 4.
Okay, so item 4, the department heads may spend up to 5,000 for budgeted items as currently defined in the procurement policy, and this is for a purchase order. And like using a credit card is not a contract. They're not signing a contract. Right?
That's right. They cannot sign a contract for more than 5.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. King.
So that's not the way I read it. That's the way I understood how it was discussed, which was my concern during council. To me, and Mr. Madden, please clarify that this is what you interpreted, but to me, number 4 reads that department heads may spend up to 5,000 as already stated in the procurement policy, meaning for PO purchases, but they're not able to sign off on a contract of any dollar amount. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. In my discussion with legal counsel, Mr. Duggan, that was the intent of the resolution. And the amendment really is only restating what is currently city policy.
Thank you, Mr. Madden, because that's the way I understood the confusion was that we were trying to get the point across that it was referring to contracts, not to what department heads could currently do. So that wasn't changed. I'd also like to add in the future, to me, this was a very confusing, it wasn't confusing to me because I understood what was going on, but I think the amendment was confusing. So I think we all need to take a lesson and step back, and it's my opinion, and it's okay to say, I don't understand, can we clarify, or send it back to council, to committee for us to look at again. This ended up being, it was okay at the end of the day, but it may not have been. So just, I think, a reminder to us all, it's okay to say, hey, I don't understand, can we talk about this some more?
Right, send it back and go from there.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Thank you, Ms. Goodstar. Okay, there's actually no actionable thing needed to happen with that, it's more except for another chance for this committee to vet a government policy change. All right, so moving on. Any other public comments? Hearing or seeing none, any concerns? Very good. What do I hear in adjournment?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This finance committee stands adjourned. The next committee meeting is on the economic development committee.
All right, calling EPD to order at 6:20 on October 4th. Everybody's here. First item, public comment. Public. Hearing none, reading and approval of minutes. What do I hear?
Move to approve the minutes of the meeting from a month ago. As is.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Reports communications from city officer, Mr. Broad.
Committee, just a quick item on our budget, we're at a 78% expectation of 74%, but budget balance. We've mailed out our cultural center brochures for the season. We mail out about between 20 and 25,000 of these to homes in Mauldin. We try to make sure to hit every resident in the city of Walton, and it's surprising that even when we do that, people say, I didn't know y'all were doing that over there. So we still have a lot of work to get the word out about activities in the center. And this covers every gamut from theater productions to all of our outdoor amphitheater productions and events that we have at the cultural center. So it's a really good brochure for us too, as well as it's a fundraising brochure too. Our cultural center lobby renovation is going well. Footings have been dug for the new plaza, and most of our demolition is complete. As is common with most buildings built in 1939, we still face challenges and issues with the building itself, but much thanks to our public works department for the great resources that they give us and insisting on staying on top of that building. We continue to work through the dynamic planning of our city center village, the redevelopment of the former Rite Aid Family Dollar, our rail crossing with the Genesee and Wyoming that we've been working hard on, and DOT negotiations on several city projects continue to happen each and every day. A lot of times folks think, how do these things happen? We spent about half of our time, Mr. Madden, Mr. Gilhow, and myself, negotiating either with DOT or the rail crossing for access and just to get projects completed and across the finish line. It takes a good while. Mr. Krayling's been working on a real big project with us concerning the Swamp Rabbit Trail, and we appreciate his efforts on that behalf and look forward to moving that along too. We continue to reach out to retail development. We're hosting a couple of major retailers in town in the next 60 days. Some of them for their second visit. This is a really big deal for our city. There are a lot of issues that we face in getting retailers here, but I believe once you get them on the ground, you have a great opportunity and chance to really showcase the Mauldin community. Our community is great. We have wonderful demographics, and often it's a game changer in getting retailers here So I'm really excited about this opportunity that's coming up. Aldi, by the way, will have a soft opening on October the 20th and a grand opening on the 21st. We expect to hear something a little more from them about that, and as that comes out, I'll pass that along to Mr. Madden for council. Our department's working diligently on many fronts, and our staff continues to make these efforts possible. I couldn't do it without them. These are a great bunch of folks in our department. I appreciate their work. So that's it for us, and happy to answer any questions.
Questions, Mr. Brooks? Mr. Craig?
Just one, all these, do we have a date when we're expected to be open?
20th, soft opening on the 20th and a grand opening on the 21st.
One quick thing, and honestly, man, you may not be the right person, you may end up, looking over your shoulder. The wiring, to get everything done for Beach and Christmas, do you have an update on that?
It is complete. It is complete. Everything's there. Obviously we're way off of what we hope to be, but that's okay. We're gonna have a fantastic Beach and Christmas next year. This just sets us up for the next cycle, and we're gonna be well ahead of the game. So we're in great shape.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No unfinished business, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to new business, the maintenance agreement, first item in the maintenance agreement with SCDOT, pedestrian bridge, Mr. Madden. I think we want to go ahead and roll that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So before you, well, let me back up. Last month during council meeting, council approved a maintenance agreement with the Department of Transportation for operating and maintaining the pedestrian bridge once that construction has been completed. That version that council approved had a number of amendments to it. The major amendment was to one of the last provisions in the agreement, which essentially included language that said, in effect, if the Interstate 385 is widened and the bridge has to be moved, that the city of Mauldin will be responsible for the costs associated with that. And so we had the staff had a meeting with DOT this past Friday. That meeting went well. Essentially, DOT has made a policy decision that if any widening occurs on 385, whether it's now or 75 years from now, the city of Mauldin will be responsible for the costs associated with removing the bridge and reconstructing the pedestrian bridge. So what you have before you, your agenda packet this evening is the agreement, which is pretty much the original agreement the DOT sent over, with the exception of a couple whereas in the recitals on the first page. So what's being requested is committee approval or any amendments that the committee would like to bring forth to share back to DOT regarding the maintenance agreement.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to forward this to full council for review and approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Let me just go ahead and throw it out there. This is pretty much either we approve it or we don't move the bridge. That's what it boils down to. Really, so we have already approved a version of the event of the agreement. So we're actually, this would be a vote to amend the agreement that we have approved to take it back to the original version.
Should you restate that?
But Mr. Broad has something he wants to say.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Mr. Madden was saying too, and that meeting we had last Friday. If you can find comfort in this, the road has already been widened. They don't foresee that 385 is going to be wide anymore. And even if it is wide, the bridge architectural group and construction plans allow for the road to pass through parts of the bridge. So could the bridge be moved? Possibly, but it's probably about a 95% chance that we will never have to move this bridge, at least in our next 75 years of life, and I'm going to be done. Just saying.
So the motion is to forward the amendment to the agreement to full council for discussion and approval. Is that the motion?
Yes, sir.
Just second it.
Is there additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and we will forward that amendment to full council for discussion and approval. And then that's going to bring us to underground utilities and city center streetscape. Mr. Madden.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, as you may recall, in the 2020 council goals, underground and utilities was listed as a priority of the council. Community Development Department has been working with Duke Energy to look at different phases for underground and utilities throughout the city. The initial discussions have concentrated on the city center area. There are 4 phases that Duke Energy has provided high-level cost estimates for. And so what's before you is phase 1, which is Jenkins Court, which will ultimately be repaved and sidewalks added and will be the main street for the city center project. Duke Energy provides a dollar-for-dollar matching program when undergrounding utilities, and each municipality is allotted a certain amount of money. So the city has been allotted approximately $400,000 by Duke Energy for undergrounding utilities. And the high-level cost estimate for that first phase on Jenkins Court is approximately $650,000. So if you apply a dollar-for-dollar match that's available through Duke Power, the city would be responsible for the remainder, which is $325,000. The city, if council move forward with this, the city would be reimbursing Duke Energy for removing the overhead utilities along that area. And the city would be responsible for contracting out the services to actually underground the utilities along that first phase, which is highlighted in the agenda packet with a couple aerial shots. If you look on page 29, the red line are the overhead utilities, or what they call overhead facilities. And then the blue line is the buried conduit that would be required. Funding is available in the city's assigned fund balance or in the capital projects fund balance to cover the cost should council want to move forward. So what's being requested is approval to move forward with undergrounding those utilities with Duke Power.
Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Madden. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to move forward to full council, the phase 1 Jenkins Court undergrounding and electrical lines.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And then that's going to bring us back to public comment. Do we have anybody online who would like to comment?
No, Mr. Chair.
And that's going to bring us to committee concerns.
Just want to make a comment, and Mr. Madden, please, give me the name of the developer with the meeting that was held over here about the development at the end of Millwood, Dollar Tree. That area there, I just want to say I'm very, very grateful for them to go forward and doing that. And very helpful for the people in the neighborhood to understand. And basically, you got almost all positive response back. And so very pleased with what they did.
Absolutely. We'll make sure we share that with that developer.
Any other committee concerns? We'll hear on adjournment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 6:33 and we met this huge challenge.
Like to call the Recreation Committee meeting for October 4th, 2021 to order, please. Members present, Mr. Dennis Matthew, Mr. Michael Reynolds, myself, Dale Black, Brandon Madden, and Mr. Mark Coomer, Recreation Director. We have any public comment at this time? If not, we will come back in this meeting, give you another opportunity. Anybody on the line, Mr. Madden?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving right along, we go to the next item, which is the reading approval of the recreation committee meetings for September 7th, 2021. What I hear on those minutes.
Move for approval.
Have a motion, Mr. Mackey, they be approved. Have a second.
Second.
Any discussion, changes, amendments? Hearing none, they be approved as distributed. This time, recreation communication with Mr. Penalties. We do report number 4, please.
Sir. Sorry, guys, I was actually at Sunset Park at a soccer game. Everything in recreation is going well. Budget's in good shape. Our marketing person is doing leaps and bounds with the getting out in the public, community and businesses, trying to sell some memberships. Greg Beaman, our new senior coordinator, is doing well in his new position. Numbers are steadily going up and everybody coming back from COVID, so that's doing well. Youth sports is going well, about to wrap up with that. We'll finish up probably in 2 weeks and then we'll go into playoffs. By the end of October, we should be complete with the fall season. And some of you might know that we've had some issues at the senior center about the parking after school. Just to let you know, that's kind of gotten better now since we blocked up that parking lot in that. What's been happening is that some of the parents have been pulling over there, not getting in the car line and parking and taking up spots from the seniors can't get in there to the facility. Also, you have people cutting through the parking lot, kids right there playing on the playground, and parents were coming in and complaining into the senior office about people just flying through the parking lot during school hours, mainly in the afternoon. Friday is complete chaos on Friday afternoon. So we've gotten a lot better at that because we had like big pickleball that day. It was just a lot of people. So we just had to do something. So if you get a phone call, I've been getting some phone calls. People not too happy about us closing it, but we only close it in the afternoons, not in the mornings, and it's only probably about 30 minutes. Just giving y'all a heads up in case you get a phone call. Resource officers have been telling everybody in school not to park there. They communicate that with the principal to the parents by email about that, telling parents they cannot park there. And I think a lot of it is people just don't want to sit in the car lot. And so that's kind of what we're trying to address. That's all I have. Questions on?
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Penalties? Ms. Matt?
Not really a question as much as it is a comment. I know that the principal and the administration at the high school have tried to be abundantly clear to the students that that is not a parking lot that's to be used for student pickup and drop off. The problem though comes in when it's used anyway. Ultimately, more than an inconvenience to our seniors, it's a safety issue for these young students who are just dodging cars like they're playing Frogger and they're not using the crosswalk. And it's not uncommon for somebody to get hit. And for us to simply close off those gates for a brief period to try and alleviate a situation that invites kids to potentially get hit by a car. Bart, thank you. Thank you for closing the gates.
Thank you, Matt. You got anything with that?
Second.
I go along with Mr. Matthew. We've been fighting this battle for several years on that parking lot there. We put the fence or the gates up there to try to be a deterrent person, I think. Then we went back and I think they signage up there says no stopping, unloading, or drop off anything. And I've almost hit 2 or 3 children coming across the road from that lower driveway where the buses go in myself. Seems like some of them, they talking on their phone, they don't even look, they just walk across the street before somebody gets hurt or killed. And I commend you and I commend the police resource officer and everybody at school for doing what they can for the safety of the kids and their parents, because some of them don't want to hear that, but they want, like I said, they don't want to wait in the line. So, but it is a safety thing, really, we do it. It's not to be mean. We got a crosswalk, 200 feet up on the corner there. We got a push button where they can hit it, walk across and change the lights. I commend you for staying on top of it, we've been battling this for years.
Thank you. Just so you know, we have a staff person out there all the time at the gate. And so if emergency arises, we can't open those gates. So there's a staff person out there. Friday is just wide open. We just have to do something. So I appreciate y'all's support on that. I just want to give you a heads up in case you had an email or a phone call.
I think I received one email, I think I forwarded it to Brandon, and he sent it to me, I think that's me got it from a lady in my neighborhood, I think she was upset because she couldn't get in there to pick her child up, so, her grandchild. I tried to tell them it's for safety reasons, it's not to be me. Appreciate what y'all doing in the city and the police department, everybody that's trying to help the children out.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else have anything on that?
No.
Thank you, Bart. All right, moving right on, we have no unfinished business. I know unless the committee has something that was omitted. The next item is being the new business, and this is the first item. A is renaming the Pine Forest Park, page 6 on your agenda. This came about because I think there was a young gentleman that met with the mayor about some good ideas about a water fountain up there, and then the mayor met with myself, and Brandon, and Bart, and we discussed this with this young gentleman. He was not in this meeting, but the mayor gave us all this information that he presented to him. And he was talking about a water fountain at the park over there, and he brought up, since it is in Pine Forest, Oak Forest, about renaming the park over there. So I don't personally have a problem, but we need some guidance as to how we go about naming it. And my first thought is the people in Pine Forest, Oak Forest ought to be the ones that's really sought after to get their opinion on renaming, put it on the website or send some door hangers or put stuff on their trash cans or something to announce, that we do have something going on for renaming those parks. With all the activity on Forester Drive and we continue to grow, we need those facilities out there to use for our recreation program. We'll probably need them more down the road as we continue to grow. So I'll open this up for discussion from the committee of the process you think are good. We have done this, and we did it with Sunset Park. It was named by citizens. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, no, I don't have an issue with the idea of trying to rename it, but I think what would be neat for the community is, as the city's making investments in the park, using that as a marketing those two things together. So as we look and say, okay, we're budgeting forward and we're going to have a shelter or a field or whatever it is, to try to play those two together so it could be an event for renaming it. That was my only thoughts on it, is how do we tie in the city's investment to renaming opportunity.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I just like to have some ideas from the committee and full council and as to how we go about it. Like I said, I have no problem renaming it. I don't know what he has to name now, whether it's Pine Forest Park or what it is, but it's been there for years. And I think when they first built that subdivision, there was a swimming pool out there, best I can remember, working down this way. That went by the wayside years ago because they didn't have anybody to keep it up or didn't want to keep it up. So I think they filled it in. They did away with the swimming pool out there. But I have no problem renaming it. Anybody got any suggestions of how we go about, getting it other than hangers on the mailboxes or the trash cans or door hangers or something to give the residents out there the opportunity? Mr. Mann?
So we had a resident say that.
Young boy brought the suggestion to the mayor. The mayor brought it to myself, Brandon, and Mr. Kumlander. And the mayor.
My only concern would be that I wouldn't want to go too far down that road until we know what the neighborhood sentiment is, because that is first and foremost a neighborhood park. And it was a source of pride and joy for the residents of that area before we annexed them into the city. And I think that it is laudable anytime we have youth become involved in the public policy process. That said, I want to make sure that as we represent everybody in Pine Forest, we're getting their voices heard. And that there really is that sentiment within the neighborhood potentially renaming.
Well, I have no problem, I agree with you. But I think the people over there first ought to be the ones to decide if they're gonna rename it, and what name it is, you know. Then if we don't get anything from them, then we can go reach out to the entire population of the city, since it is in their backyard over there. Yeah, I agree with you on that, but they need to have, are you interested in renaming it? What name would you suggest?
And I don't know if that's in the form of a public meeting for Pine Forest residents. If we take a meeting over there and ask, if we publicize it and have it be a topic of discussion at the regular council meeting in a couple of weeks, and ask people to come and provide input. But I want to make sure that they're able to do that and that we don't go too far down the road.
We need to have a mechanism to notify them of what we're possibly going to do, so they can have input in it. You got any suggestions, Mr. Brand?
Staff can, we have all the addresses of all the residents that live in Palm Forest. We can survey each resident to get a response, whether or not there's an interest in renaming the park. And if there is an interest in renaming the park, we can move forward with a process similar a process that was used for Sunset Park, where we survey the community at large about renaming it, if the desire is there for them to rename the park. So our staff will work with the Recreation Director, Mr. Comalander, and his folks to canvass the community there in Pine Forest and survey the residents there.
I think that'd be a good place to do it. Might be all we need, but I think we need to target them first, and then if we get a lot of interest in them, then bring it out. I think they ought to be first and foremost the ones to make that decision, since it is in their neighborhood.
Understood.
You get staff to do that. If the committee agrees with it, I have no problem. I think it's a good way to target those individual residents over there.
Understood. Understood, Mr. Black.
Anybody else have any comments on this? I don't see that we do anything until we get some input from the residents, any further action, or anything on that, until we find out some more information.
Well, I think we did have a youth who we just want to be actively involved, to have them actively, him or her involved in coming up with the idea of how to contact the citizens as well, or be a point person for the city.
I think we have all this contact information, Matt. You and Bart and the mayor, I think.
That's correct.
Has all the contact information. I want to let him spearhead it if he's interested, and he seemed like the mayor, he had a lot of drive, a lot of good ideas, and good knowledge and all this stuff. See,
Absolutely.
thank you. Hearing nothing else on this, we'll move to the next item, which is item B, Springfield Park paving lot. Or lot paving on page 7 and 8 of your information. You want to take this, Madden, or you want to take it? Or this is about the Springfield Park, the lower section over next to the football field and all in there, and up around the basketball court.
Yes, sir, Mr. Black. This parking lot that we're talking about, you can see it as a picture on the fact that you got. The one in marked in red is newer. It's probably 4 to 5 years old. We repaved to be our tennis courts. Because our programs are getting large, especially football. It's tight parking down there. So we repaved that one about 4 or 5 years ago. The lower one, I'm gonna tell my age here. I don't believe it's been paved since I worked here. I started in 1989, so it's been sealed but not paved. You've got curbing that's busted. You've got asphalt that's busted up. You can't hardly see the spots to park. Like that will be a good approach for us to do this project. It's in our CIP. Just the cost of the asphalt has gone up and curbing is in bad shape as well. We've got that new playground down there. that's used tremendously. And our new bathrooms and concession stands. So it's up to council, y'all, what direction y'all want to go, but it's just, you know, right, I look at it and see some bad areas down there. So we just need to do something. I would like for y'all to be mindful of, you know, we could have some bad soil down there. We ran into that issue with City Park. We don't know. I talked with the guy today, and it's the bar shop when we start pulling that asphalt up. And we could not have bad areas. Just I want y'all to be mindful of that. We don't know until we start taking it up. The reason taking it up is all you're doing is creating self-lips in some areas. You keep just putting it down. And it's, as I recall, I don't ever remember us re-asphalting or it's been ripped up since I've worked here. So just give me a little history on the parking lot there. So if you got any questions on mine.
Yeah, I don't remember it being paved, you know, my time on council, time at the city. I think there is a couple sections in it, if I remember correctly, like we had at the city park, we have some tree roots that's coming up under causes and bumps in the parking lot, which creates somewhat of a safety issue, so I think we need to address it first, and I know this came in about $70-something more than what the proposal was on the CIP, but like I say, cost of everything has gone up, so I don't know where that's the whole deciding factor on it or not. We need to do it, and like I say, the other one up there is the one where the tennis courts were and where the upper bathroom, the concession stand used to be years ago next to where the maintenance building currently is there. So, like I say, it's in a lot better shape. So it could be sealed and we get some more use out of it. So, then they would make it, if we do decide to pave it, so by sealing the upper one, it would blend them in where they would both look the same. So, what's the committee's?
Move for this council of recommendation approval.
I've got a recommendation. Did you have something for? Yeah, excuse me, Mr. Matt, you had his hand up before you made the motion.
No, I think as I was looking at it, the concern is that we're having the growth of our rec programs are using up the parking in order to do this repay here would not be an appropriate time to reassess and bring civil engineering and look to see if expanding the lot is a better idea than repaving, or come back in and look at the entire area to try to gain more parking spaces.
I talked to asphalt company today and I asked him that same question. He said we can angle them in a way. He said if we do that, it's going to take up some spots. And I asked him, is there any way where we can expand it? It's really not. And I kind of will lean on Matthew a little bit on some of the water issues, because that just a great way that grade of that parking lot is just kind of sloped down to one area. And Matthew does a good job of putting new catch basin and stuff down there, so that water won't sit in the corner of that parking lot. So, but again, that's, if y'all would like to do that, we can do that. I did reach out to him today and ask those questions.
Yeah, I don't know of any place that we've got where we could expand without doing away with the basketball court. I don't think that'd be a good idea. We're about saturated up there on about everything. Probably gains if you didn't have the maintenance yet, and everything you didn't have it, what you do with stuff that's the maintenance yet.
Well, and I think that's what I'm getting at. There's a way to, if spots are what we need over there, then relocation of a building makes some sense rather than repaving. And I have no issue with repaving. I'm just trying to be thoughtful about, rather than just fixing a bad parking lot, can we fix the problem across it, other than the not paving it, however long you've been here.
Well, my idea, we did the lower, like the oldest part we're talking about in the blue here on the diagram. Then the red, if we sealed it, then down the road, if we did do away with that shed and build another one somewhere and move it, relocate it, then we could take in that section at that time and wouldn't do that much more. But I think we do need to get that parking lot up to, I don't know where it's supposed to be the right word, but we need to get it up and get it remarked and all for safety and for usage. That's just my skill.
Is that just a cinder block shed, or is it
It's a metal building.
It's a metal building.
But
That's what I'm talking about. It's just, okay. other building with a concrete pad or something. Approximately what size?
About 30 by 60 or something like that, I think.
It might be a little wider than 30. Yeah, I would say 40 by 60.
Might be 40 by 60, I can't remember what it was when we built it.
Yeah, and again, I have no problem with repaving what's there, and I'm all for this. Can we alleviate some of the problem by changing the scope here?
And we probably could, but I think that would be just prolonging the time factor.
Mr. Madden, patiently wait.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, the reason that I made my motion when I did was so that we could have discussion on it, but since we're just gonna go ahead and have discussion, I'll go ahead and throw my 2 cents in. I'd like to go ahead and take it back a little bit. Bart said that parking lot hasn't been repaved since he worked here. I don't ever remember that parking lot being paved. You and I both played on those fields, and now our kids play on those fields. Well, mine's aged out, but yours still are. We've got safety hazards because of what that parking lot not just looks like, but contains. You step in a pothole and somebody twists an ankle. We have torn cartilage, and all of a sudden the city's dealing with medical liability from trip and fall. So yes, there is an aesthetic component to it, but it's also a functionality component as well. And honestly, I agree with Mr. Reynolds as well. We've got that storage building there, but we just purchased and are in the process of refurbishing an 8-acre public works facility on the southern end of the city. I know that it would be convenient to have the equipment on site, but parking is a premium at Springfield. And if you go down there on a night where there are football games and fall baseball games at the same time, not only is the parking lot full, but you have people parking on the sidewalk on both sides. Then you're putting pedestrians in the middle of the street. And we get back to a similar situation, what we were talking about with the parking lot of the senior center, where you've got pedestrians that are being put in harm's way. So again, I reinstate the motion that I made for this full council, and if Mr. Reynolds would like to amend that motion to look at doing something with the metal building and adding parking there, I have no problem with that amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter. We got a motion on the floor to forward this to proposed paving for the lower parking, which is in blue on our diagram here, to full council for approval. And Mr. Madden, we just got one bid on this, and it's from the vendor is listed.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair, one vendor, Patakakis Paving, the amounts for the lower part that's in blue is the $198,337. That does not include curb, replacing the curbing, which will be an additional approximately $15,000 for a certain amount of curbing, and could go up in cost if additional curbing is needed to be replaced. Council may want to consider placing some sort of a not to exceed amount, whether that is $215,000, because there's some variables there, particularly with the potential for bad dirt up under the existing asphalt, where you've had years of stormwater runoff where water has kind of set in one area, and with cracks in those areas infiltrated up under the asphalt and made the soil where you're gonna have to replace that dirt. So the committee may want to consider an amount higher than the $198,337 when you forward this to council, just for consideration.
The Patakakis was the one that did it, the parking lot at Senior Center, and they replaced the curbing and all up there. And I think we ran into some bad soil up there and they had to take it out also.
And with that, Mr. Black, that if you run into bad soil, there's a method that they use rather than ripping up all of the asphalt. They kind of reconstruct it. And that is a potential cost savings. So that is something also to consider if you forward this to full council. Would the council be opposed to not ripping up all the asphalt if there is some bad soil there and just reconstructing it? Still would have a good finished product. It would just result in some cost savings possibly if you ran into that issue. That's a thought as well.
Mr. Matt, you want to, since you haven't got a second, you want to restate your motion with a not to exceed cost or?
My only thought about putting the not to exceed cost tonight is that I think between now and the council meeting, we could actually get some more accurate costs, that we know what it would look like for that not to exceed. You know, if we're going to be dealing with bad soil, how much additional funds would we need instead of just making up a number tonight? So I would have no problem continuing the motion as it is, or just putting a not to exceed number as a placeholder until we get an accurate number that Mr. Trumbull could probably put together or have the contractor get for the regular council meeting, and we could amend it at that time.
Yeah, I have no problem either way, but that's, my only thing is, I just like to get it done for safety reasons, one thing, let's get it done, and instead of putting the Band-Aid on it and get it out of the way, move on to something else.
No, I agree with you, Mr. Black. You know, this committee and this council have invested a significant amount of resources over the past several years in improving the equipment that we have at the parks, improving the facilities that we have at the parks. As Mr. Cumberlander mentioned, we just got finished repaving the parking lot at City Park, which had never been redone. And Springfield and the residents who live around Springfield Park and the parents and the kids who enjoy Springfield Park should be able to have the same level of facilities there that they have at the other park. So if you'd like for me to amend it with a not to exceed, 225, I've got no problem doing that.
However you like to make a motion, you leave it as you got it with the figures we have, or you can put a not to exceed. Like I said, we could always change it at the council meeting if we.
We'll go ahead and put a placeholder in there. I will send my original motion and move that we forward this to full council with a not to exceed 225.
I think we have a motion, Mr. Maggie, that we send this to full council with the not to exceed recommendation of 225 on the parking lot work at Springfield Park.
Make sure that was right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm making sure that's right. Yes, 225.
So we got a motion, do we have a second?
I have a second.
Any further discussion?
I think again, I'd like to make a motion to amend Mr. Matthews' motion to allow for staff to look at the option of removing that maintenance shed and taking the area in its entirety to gain parking spot.
You want to amend this motion, or you want to put this on as an agenda item for
Discussion.
the next meeting, and maybe for a committee of the whole to discuss, because that's gonna be another thing, it's gonna require time and money, if you're gonna take the building down and relocate it. And that's another budgeted item that's not in the budget. I mean, I don't know how we're gonna do it. We tie that to this, then I don't know where to prolong the payment or not.
Yeah, Mayor, I keep coming back to Mr. Chairman, if we're going to do it exactly what you're saying, let's do it right. We can gain parking spots by taking the area out and changing the overlay, whatever that takes, then I'd rather make that decision now than spend a not to exceed 225 and having that look out. But I have no problem also, I rescind my amendment, Mr. Chairman, we can send that full council and have already council. That's fine.
The original motion stand with
Yes.
the top exceed 225. Is that correct?
That's correct. And
Okay.
I seconded that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of sending this to full council to the next meeting, which I think is on the 18th, for recommendation for the Springfield parking lot paving, not to exceed 225. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, so it's carried unanimous. I appreciate it, everyone's input on that. All right, the next item is a PAR grant amendment. It's on page 9 of your information. Mr. Finley, you want to handle this?
I'm gonna lean on Brandon a little bit, on this grant. What this grant for is the Walton Trail at City Park. The pave all around, we've got some bad spots, around there, so we're just asking for, a match. We have, the city has to put in there to, get the part grant back from the state. That's essentially the question.
So we got a 20% match on the proposed $68,000 project, which would be, City Park would be 13.7, is that correct?
Correct.
This is for the walking trail at City Park Signage.
Correct, yes, sir.
We've been discussing this, I think, for a year or so, and we got another situation up there, and it gets worse every year with the tree roots pushing up the asphalt and creates somewhat of a safety issue in certain places, especially around on the backside where all the trees are growing.
I'd like to make a motion to send full council with a recommendation of approval to amend the FY 2022 recreation department budget in the amount of 13,768.64 to cover the full match amount of our grant.
Second.
I've got a motion that we send it to full council for a budget amendment for amount of 13,768.64 for a matching hard grant. This is for the purpose of paving the walking trail at the senior center of City Hall. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, all in favor, that's good, that's unanimous. Okay, we have, I don't see anything else under new business, unless committee has something again. All right, we're back to the public comment. Mr. Man, you got any public comments?
No, Mr. Chair.
Anybody in the audience, public comments? Here none, committee concerns. Mr. Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to suggest maybe along Mr. Reynolds' concerns earlier that at least maybe those cost estimates are brought to the committee meeting or to the council meeting on the 18th as it relates to Springfield Park, so that they can be a part of the discussion, not necessarily have to wait, until for another month, but have that information available so we can all make educated decisions with accurate real-time numbers.
I have no problem with that. I think all we all know, my theory is we're gonna do something, let's do it right, don't put a Band-Aid on it, address it one time, spend money once and do it right, move on to the next project. Any more committee concerns?
Mr. Matt, you have a second?
No more committee concerns, what I hear on adjournment,
So moved.
have a motion, second,
Second.
all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Appreciate everyone's input and the information on this, good job. Next is Public Works Committee.
All right, it's time I'd like to bring to order the Public Works Committee meeting for October 4th. It is that clock is incorrect. 7:12 p.m. All members are present. We'll start with the public comment. Is there any public comment?
My name is Scott Crosby, I'm 209 Crest Drive. This is in reference to one of your action items. I'd just like you to have some background. You've already read my email and all that. There are half a dozen young kids on my street alone, on my part of my street alone. And there are others I'm sure I don't know about. I've got several people I've talked with about this, and we all agree we'd like to, with all the changes coming to East Butler, we'd like this signage to be put in place. There are some kids that are on Old Mill itself, and they're young enough that we'd like to solve a safety issue before it happens. That's the reason we're asking for this. So just some background for you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will be available for questions. I don't know if you have any.
Any other public comments? No. We'll go here on the reading and approval of minutes from September 7th.
Make a motion, the approval of minutes from September 7th, 2021, be approved as submitted.
I have a motion of approval for the September 7th.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Mr. Freeman, for Public Works Director.
As was stated earlier, we're quarter of the way through the fiscal year. All the budgets underneath Public Works, we're supposed to have about 74–75% left at this point in time. All the budgets range somewhere between 74% and 82%. So we're right in line with where we could be. For the new facility, we finished today. The fleet area is finally complete. Everything's done. We're still working with the contractors on the final, just kind of touch up painting, rework issues. But they should be done now. They're potentially in the next week or so. And then doing our job.
Any questions for Mr. Freeman?
You're enjoying the facility, right?
Absolutely.
The lighting's good, the view's good.
Yes, everything's nice.
Good. That's all I have. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
I have nothing, thank you.
I do drive by there about once a week, just kind of check out, see things getting more and more moving along. I know it's not something we want to do right away, but I'm assuming the pavement out front eventually in the next several years, we're going to want to replace.
We will be talking about that later this month at the council retreat, the upcoming budget.
Okay. Something I noticed.
Way to spoil the surprise.
All right, no other questions? Thank you. Other questions? Okay. All right, on to, there's no unfinished business. Okay, now going on to new business. The South Carolina DOT request. The request to see South Carolina DOT.
Mr. Chair, members of committee, so the request before you is to authorize staff to request of DOT that no through truck signs are placed at the end of the portion of Old Mill Road between Miller Road and East Butler Road. Now, because Old Mill Road, East Butler Road, and Miller Road are all state-owned roads, in order to add the signs, DOT has to authorize the city to do so. And the city has to also provide alternative routes for all truckers or all trucks to use if those signs are placed. So staff is requesting authorization to move forward with DOT. We did not want to go forward unless the council wanted to actually go through the process of trying to get signs placed out there. And so that's the request before you this evening.
I hear motion.
I'll make a motion for the sake of discussion. Motion to approve the recommendation for the signage request to SCDOT.
I have a motion, and a second.
Yeah, I'll say that.
Any discussion?
So my question is, so this request is from East Butler to down Old Mill to Miller Road.
Yeah, so the signs, one no through truck sign would be placed at Old Mill and East Butler, and then one no truck through sign at Old Mill and Miller. Right there, Old Mill and Miller, you have the four-way stop. And then if you go all the way down Old Mill to East Butler Road, right at CVS, so you have a sign right there and a sign at the four-way stop.
The trucks would be able to turn onto. Yeah.
So they would have to take one alternative route. Instead of going down Old Mill, trucks would turn left if you're coming down Old Mill and go up to Corn and be on the highway, or turn right and go down Miller. That way they just wouldn't be allowed to go down Old Mill Road. DOT has the policy position that all of their roads are open and available for use by everybody. So that's their stance on it. So they have to have an alternative route that they would have to approve before the signs are placed there.
And I thank you, Mr. Madden and Mr. Fleeman. I understand the request. However, I do have reservations and concerns, as ironically, just a few days ago, I was sitting at four-way stop to cross over Old Mill. I was at the restaurant to go straight, and an 18-wheeler was trying to turn left onto Miller. And I literally had to move my little car to the right and basically go through the intersection so he could turn, because there's just not room there. So I'm not saying I'm against it, but based off of the detour route, I personally can't support it, because I don't think that's a smart way to detour traffic.
Mr. Reynolds?
Could any of this be addressed during the widening when obviously CDOT is trying to work with the widening of our beautiful road here? Is there anything as we work in that process to work in an alternate route?
Not at this time. Most of the trucks are coming from or cutting through the city to get to 385. It's just quicker to go through that route. You have Compex, which is on up Old Mill Road, that intersects with Forster. You have CF Sauer there. So a lot of the 18-wheelers it's just easier to cut through Old Mill, or if you're coming up East Butler, just to turn on Old Mill and go to those industrial areas. It's just a convenience route for truckers.
Go ahead.
When with the no through trucks, is that
The 18-wheelers. Old Mill just so happens to have residential areas on both sides of the road, all the way through.
The issue. And from an 18-wheeler perspective, I'm surprised they would take that route anyway, because it's left or right turn off to the main street. That's all I'm thinking here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess we need to remember, if you have a truck coming from Compex or that direction, the new food line or whatever, it's difficult, like I said, when there's traffic at those four-way stops, for them to make a left or a right onto Miller. So the only logical route, if they went that way to Butler, would be unfortunately down Old Mill. However, I did generally, I didn't speak to our police chief in length, but I'm not really sure we've had a lot of complaints about the 18-wheelers going down that road. I just think we need to maybe study it and look at it a little bit longer before we make a decision to do that, just because of the detour route.
I think if nothing else, it'd be probably wise for be it the police chief or whomever to talk to the businesses that would most be affected by something like this, and just advise them, hey, here's what we're seeing. Certainly there's neighborhoods that will be cognizant that there are neighborhoods that you're driving 18-wheeler past. How can we help address their concerns? Who would be the point person? Who would make the most sense to be the point person to start that discussion with them? Because I tend to think there's only going to be a handful of 18-wheeler businesses there. So can we talk who those are and approach a representative there first?
Yes.
So the Butler Road expansion, the best is probably gonna be 2024. We have some time to study this. I also was thinking along the same line of getting with the businesses. I was concerned about the DBS lumber. When they come out of there, that's usually who I see there and the other roads. There's also been product performance in the past, the wear and tear on these roads. And are these roads really designed to handle that kind of weight? I know they're not ours, but as we're looking at this, is there somebody, do we want to possibly expand that policy to some areas? Or, you can't have, there's some ways, other ways to look at this. I think it's to your question, what we have just here, that one little section of road, is there other places that makes more sense? Because we do have a lot of traffic, we do have some of it, we do have some traffic, and we'll take those shortcuts, just like we did. We know we get on the Murray, we can shoot down and avoid some of the traffic. Truck drivers know this as well. Totally agree with what Ms. King said, that turn right there, I've seen that as well, right where the Aldi's is right there, they just can't barely make that turn as it is, coming onto there. We could have some problems. My personal opinion is we kind of, let's study this some more, make sure we're really looking at all the different angles of this. Because once we send this to DOT, it's in their hands. I don't want to take that away from us till we really understand what we really want with how this impacts. I do totally agree with the concerns that Ms. Crosby has. On the planning commission, Mr. Sofield also lives right there and has a small son right on the road. So I'm aware of that area. But I think for right now, Mr. Madden, probably, could we put this on hold to come back to committee after some investigation, more investigation is done?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
With that matter, we still bring it up, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, or you can technically make a motion to hold it in committee. Hold this item into committee.
And Mr. Chair, I'll rescind my motion.
I have another motion.
Second.
Any discussion? No? On that, those in favor vote, say aye. Aye.
And I'll, at this time, make a motion that we hold this item in committee to allow us to give staff some direction on getting some input from local businesses and maybe some other studies, but just to hold it in committee for further discussion.
So I have, make sure we got this all new and proper. We voted to remove the first motion. The second motion, we have a second motion to hold this in committee until we do some additional investigation to make sure the committee is happy and want to go forward. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. That, we move on to the next item. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In front of you, you have a resolution to approve a contract with Pratt Recycling. Pratt Recycling is currently the facility that we take all of our recycling to. Historically, we've always gone to them. They, our contract expired a while back, pre-COVID. We've been hammering out details to move forward. And what you have in front of you is a 5-year contract. Fixed rate, $75 a ton. It is an increase over our current costs. However, the contract does identify that we will be able to take part in revenue sharing or cost sharing. So when the cost of recyclables goes up, the cost of our disposal goes down.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to forward to full council the resolution to approve the contract with Pratt Recycling.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
Any discussion? Charles?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fleming, remind me again, the county charges us how much to dump our trash per ton?
With fees and everything, it's in the 20s, 23, 25.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. I just wanted to point out the investment the city makes in recycling.
No, sir.
Mr. Fleming, I would like to ask if you could provide me at your leisure a breakdown of what is actually recycled. We have like a report from them, is like how much cardboard, aluminum cans, what they actually do recycle from what we provide to them. Any kind of breakdown from that?
No, however, I probably could get that for you.
Just a rough idea, just looking at how much value we're actually getting for this.
I mean, yes. And I can tell you right now, more so than ever, cardboard and paper has the largest return. It's really kind of unheard of in the recycling. It used to be aluminum and some other plastics, but just the onslaught of Amazon and everything you can deliver. Cardboard and paper holds the highest recyclable value right
Correct me if I'm wrong, if any kind of food or anything comes in contact, it gets in the trash, correct?
Yes.
So they filter through that, a lot of it does end up in the.
Yes, they do typically provide a breakdown, the percentage of your waste stream that they consider trash.
And maybe some opportunities for us to do a better job of providing them less, which may reduce some of our costs. Per se. So some things to look at in the future. Thank you. All right, with that,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has legal looked over the contract yet?
Yes, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Matt. The purchase prices is the revenue sharing is the one that's most intriguing to me for a number of reasons, but I'll address myself for now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
all those in favor of moving this to the full council, say aye.
Aye.
Those like sign? Ayes have it. On to the next item. Thank you. All right, this time, public comment. So the public comment, public works. Any on the online?
No, Mr. Chair.
Any concerns?
Not concerned, but just wanted to thank Mr. Crosby and assure you that we will take a look at this. It's not dead. I just think we need a little bit more time to digest and look at maybe some other alternatives. So thank you so much for bringing this to our attention.
Agreed.
Well said, Ms. Lee.
I have just one thing. This was brought up. It's something we can look at. I wish I could remember who sent it to me. Someone made a suggestion. The trash can, which side it goes out, of getting a sticker we could slap on the trash cans to say this side out. I thought it wasn't a bad idea, something to maybe look at. Oh,
Are there arrows? I thought they had an arrow.
I think the arrows are long. now.
See?
It's a-
yes.
Oh, are they?
People confused because.
the arrows are correct.
It's a whole lot, right?
Mine are the old cans.
I just feel I still get people who contact me who are confused. I point in the right direction, but there's enough to confuse you still. Maybe it'd be an easier way.
Wheels at the curb. Wheels at the curb.
Yeah. All right. On that, what do I hear on adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? No, until we're adjourned.
All right, let's call the, what are we, the fifth committee meeting of the evening, October 4th, Public Safety. Present, you have all members of committee, myself, Mr. Frayling, and Mr. Black. We also have our city administrator and Chief Miller and Chief McCollum in council chambers. And Judge Martin.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
There she is. All right, so we'll call this meeting to order at 7:33 p.m. At the next item of order would be public comment. Most of our public has left. Do we have anybody online?
No, Madam Chair.
Seeing none, there'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. What do I have on reading and approval of the minutes from September 13th?
There's a big set, that's true.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from September 13th, say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries unanimously. Reports from our city officers. Mr. Mann, do you have anything before I move on to the chief?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Chief McCollum, you're up first.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. Our budget, I said, we're right on track where we need to be at 70, we're ideal at 74%, we're at 87%. I'll just give you a few updates. We've got on 4 different trainings we're doing coming up. Actually, we're sending several of our crew members to Texas to our, what they call the TEACS, the Unified Command, which that will be paid by through with them, so no charge to the city on that. And also we have another one coming to Colorado, it's a rail car, and they're going to that too, so that's thing too, no charge. We will be doing mutual aid training at Donaldson. We just completed mutual aid training at Donaldson Center Fire Department with their ARF training, their aircraft firefighting. So we send a crew out there to do training with them also. Upcoming, we'll be touring the old, or 3309 Lawrence Road, which is the old Hollingsworth. We'll be doing a facility tour out there. So they've actually got, I think, 5 businesses that are operating at that complex. So that's going to be very interesting to go through. And in 1st of November, we'll have a live burn training at Belmont. And we will be doing mutual aid training with GE, their ERT team, emergency response team. So we'll team up with them and do trainings with them. Also, we've started the lieutenant's promotion testing process, which he'll be doing October 13th, 14th. So you'll be hearing that probably next committee meeting. So who the candidates are for that, or who the one is. New deputy fire marshal vehicle has been ordered. So that's been for our CFP this year. And I know you've been seen in the fire prevention week this week, and we had to change the plans. We was going to do the carnival at the cultural center, but the lack of trying to get bus drivers to get the kids and stuff here. So we actually improvised, and we're going to them to do it. So that's in my report.
What's going on in the fire department?
It is, yes, ma'am.
So how many of our firemen and ladies will be able to take part in the training through FEMA?
FEMA, we have actually 2 going.
Okay.
Coming up in the first year, we have 2 more going.
Okay.
And then they'll have 2 more at probably February, I think it's going to Colorado. And that's more, like I said, that's getting in unified command. That's more of our command structure that gets into your lieutenants and higher.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for keeping up to date. You and the police department do a great job with social media and keeping the public informed on different training events. I enjoy seeing, I saw the mutual aid out at Donaldson that y'all had going on. You know, I'm a big believer in training, so that I always enjoy seeing that. Before we move on real quickly, because I'm just curious, what takes place when y'all go out to Hollingsworth for your tour? Exactly what does that involve?
We'll meet up with the usually the maintenance person or whoever's over the facility. We'll go over the fire department connections, different what facility, what they're housing in there, knowing any hazards. Like I said, you know, if something happens there, we know where those hazards are at.
Perfect. That's what I thought, but just wanted to clarify that for those who may not know. Yes, sir, Mr. Black.
Chief, speaking on the Hollingsworth thing, do we still have a mutual aid agreement with them since John D is no longer with us? And I think they had their own fire department when we were
Not
back up a secondary.
not with Old Hollingsworth. No, they don't have a ERT, what they call emergency response team. They do not have that there.
That facility is surrounded by the city of Greenville, correct?
That's correct.
But we still.
That's the only thing is ours is in that area right there.
That's because we had an agreement with them. They were first responders, and they were first, and we backed them up at one time.
That's correct.
For a yearly fee.
Yeah, they're no longer, like I said, they're no longer there.
Okay.
It's a different developer. It's got it now. And like I said, I think they got 5 different things they're doing, storing stuff in there.
We'd make much of that go up. I've been all up in the attic and everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Black. On that note,
We're trying not to do that.
Exactly. That's how we're touring. We're gonna get it down pat, right?
Correct.
Mr. Craig, you got anything? All right. Thank you, Chief, for your report. Yes, sir. Judge Martin?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. As far as I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I just said, I hope you are well.
Yes, thank you. So in reference to my budget, I am currently 8% under budget. And I just wanted to remind you all that we do have jury trials scheduled for the week of October 18th through the 22nd. And I'll be sure to provide you with the with an update after those are finished.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions for Judge Martin?
I don't know at this time.
No.
All right, no questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chief Miller.
Mr. Black. Our ideal remaining percentage right now should be 75%, and what we're sitting at right now is 82%. We're still good. We just started our reassessment today. We had the command staff meeting this morning, and then they individually interviewed most of the command staff. They're also going to be interviewing people throughout the week, other officers and people from the public. Also, if you haven't read your email or anything, Sergeant Turner passed away on Friday from COVID. We as individuals have set up a GoFundMe page for him and his children. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Chief. Our sincere condolences to Sergeant Turner. It's just heartbreaking. So thank you for everything y'all are doing with that GoFundMe. Anybody, any members of committee have questions for Chief? All right. Thank you, Chief Miller. Okay, we have no unfinished business. Several items under new business tonight. The first item would be acceptance of body worn camera grant, which you can find on pages 5 through 8. Have any questions? Chief Miller still at the podium, but basically this is just to authorize the acceptance of the grant that has been awarded to the city, so that we can purchase these cameras, and it is obviously no financial impact to the city. But the award, again, is for the $52,092. So what I have from committee?
I'd like to make a motion this time to forward to full committee the acceptance of the body worn camera grant, as just mentioned.
Thank you, Mr. Crane. We have a motion to forward the body worn camera grant in the amount of $52,092 to full council. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Mott.
Chief, is this new replacement, so is this additional or?
This is a grant we applied for through the state. I've already accepted it. If y'all don't want to take it, if I had to, so we wouldn't lose it. So basically what this is going to do, we're on our second type body camera. This is going to be a totally different one. It's also going to come with a server that is going to alleviate killing property and evidence. We're just going to save thousands of dollars in video DVDs, and also hundreds of hours in man hours in making the DVDs. What will happen with the server is she'll be able to send a URL code to the solicitor's office and whoever else needs it, like the defense attorney. So that way we're not sending videos and then a couple weeks later they say they didn't get it. They got a URL code that will stay active for at least 2 to 3 weeks.
That was my next question. One time we had not a problem, but there was a situation with the storage mechanism that we got to keep all this camera information for so many years or forever. So
right, it'll all be on that, and if you ever need that, you can pull up URL code. And it's going to be a lot less space, and like I say, it's going to save a lot of money because we burn. She probably burns 600-700 DVDs a week.
Yeah, we have not a problem, like I said, it's a situation.
Yes, sir.
Storage mechanism that the state required or FBI, somebody required it.
Right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of forwarding the motion for the body worn camera grant to full council, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, motion carries unanimously. That takes us to item B, which is the contract with D&J Productions, also known as Cold Justice. And Chief is pretty solemn due to the events of the last few days, but I'm sure this will put a small little smile on your face, as I know this is something that he worked hard for. and we're all proud of the outcome. So, what you have in front of you is just a recommendation that we forward to council the contract with D&J. The show is scheduled to air in December of this year. Anything you'd like to add to that, Mr. Chief Miller?
No, ma'am, the only thing is we didn't get the agreement prior to the contract prior to the last public safety committee or the council meeting, so that's why we're doing it today. We're still dealing with that. They just request as soon as it goes through council, we send it to them, but
Sure.
everything's good.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
It's been through legal.
Yes,
Question is,
yes,
has it been through legal?
yes.
Mr. Raymond says yes. Yes,
This
sir.
time I'd like to make a motion to forward the full council, the contract with DJ Productions, Cold Justice, located documents.
We have a motion from Mr. Kramer, we have a second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Black, any further discussion? Hearing none, yes, sir.
Just
Mr.
one
Kramer.
thing, when this gets ready to be published, we want to make sure we really advertise this, the city of Mauldin. It's a good thing.
Absolutely, it's gonna be a good PR thing for the city and also the police department and family members.
Absolutely. All right, all those in, any further discussion? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion for the contract with D&J Productions to full council, say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item C. Chief Miller is not leaving. I know. Okay, so item C is the in-car video camera system use agreement. So I'll let you carry, I have a lot of highlighted material here, Chief, but I'll let you summarize it for us if you don't mind.
All right, we've gotten with the South Carolina Department of Public Safety and requested in-car video cameras, which they do that every year with departments. This year, we had the highest amount they ordered is 13 cameras. The mobile vision cameras, the watch guard cameras. I think the next agency below us got 9 and everybody else is getting 2 or 3. This right here is basically they're giving us the cameras. It's basically $65,000. It's going to save us on the CIP. We did have those in CIP to buy, but like I say, the state's giving us the 13 that we need. So that's going to cover that. So it'll save us in that area. Also, these cameras are the ones that instead of the officer having to burn a disc and put it in P&E, they can, when they pull in, it automatically pulls it from their vehicle and puts it on a hard drive. So I guess that's the best thing. It's the savings and also, I mean, it's a good quality camera.
Thank you for that review of that, Chief. And like you said, with the acceptance of this agreement, it'll save us $65,000 in our capital improvement. So obviously there's no cost to the city, only the $65,000 savings. So what do we have on the in-car video camera
I
system
move we
agreement?
forward it to full council with the recommendation of approval.
Thank you, Mr. Black. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of forwarding the car video camera system agreement to full council, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, we're on a roll. We'll keep this going. The next item is school resource officer agreement that you can find on pages 18 through 26 in your packet. I would like to commend Mr. Madden and Chief Miller on working through this and realizing that we have 2 separate agreements with our school resource officers for Grant County School District, one for the high school and middle school, and then another agreement with our middle and elementary school. So this agreement is for the SRO agreement at Mauldin High and Mauldin Middle. So I think the recommendation from staff is that we approve this and then moving forward, looking at merging all of the school resource officer agreements into one. So make sure we will have all of the schools in our area covered. Is that correct?
Well, we have them all period now, but we have two different agreements.
That's what I meant. Yes, sir. Thank you.
We just have one agreement that covers all the schools.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So, what do I have on, for sake of discussion, if we have any on the, school resource officer agreement at Mauldin High and Mauldin Middle School?
Mr.
Black, have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion or any other questions for clarification from committee?
You say that the Bethel and the other school is a separate.
Yes, sir, it's on a different agreement because it came later on. At the time, we only had the middle school and the high school, and then Greenville County was gonna come in and they were gonna put deputies here. So at the time, Chief Turner agreed to take those two schools in, so we had an officer road in between those two schools.
Okay. That's correct. I thought we had one at Road between Mauldin and that.
Mauldin Elementary, Mauldin, but yes, sir, yes, sir. And then we have that one also, he goes to the career center and does security checks there also.
Possibility you think that road gets one permanent ever located.
That would be,
That still do.
that, yes, sir, that would be the best thing to do. That way you've got somebody in school all the time. But right now, I think we're doing better than most schools that are in the county. They've got roving deputies that may get to the school. My wife works in one school, and she said the deputies come in, check in, and pretty much leave if they had another one. So we actually have an officer that's going between 3 schools, eating lunch for the kids, and also walking schools.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Black, thank you. And yes, our SROs, they truly do their job and serve purpose in our schools. All right, we have a motion and a second. There's no further discussion. All those in favor of forwarding the agreement to full council, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. Motion carries.
That's all I got.
You can have a seat, chief. And the next item we have is a resolution on page 27. Call that here. Okay, so we have a resolution with construction management contract. Mr. Madden, can you brief us on this, please, sir?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So, the city awarded the construction manager at-risk contract to Clover Leaf Construction. And so what staff has been doing since council made the award is working with Clover Leaf and the city's architect of record, Stuart Cooper Newell, to develop a agreement for the construction of the new fire station and police substation. So what you have before you is a resolution to approve that. Keep in mind, this is a guaranteed maximum price contract. So council's approval of this contract will allow Cloverleaf to proceed with the pre-construction work, which is mainly looking at the schematic design that should be completed by Stuart Cooper Newell by the end of this month. And then Cloverleaf will present a guaranteed maximum price for the actual construction of the fire station and police substation that will have to come before council to be approved. And that approved maximum guaranteed maximum price will be added to this agreement as an amendment. So right now, what's being considered is the approval of the agreement. The actual cost of the work for the construction will come back as an amendment to this agreement later. But right now, this is just to authorize them to proceed with the pre-construction work for the fire station and police substation.
Okay, for sake of questions and discussion, do I have a motion for the resolution?
Is this gone through legal?
Yes, Mr. Black, legal counsel, Mr. John Duggan has reviewed it. The red line changes were provided to Cloverleaf. They accepted those changes and added their schematic design price for their pre-construction work, which is, I believe it's $7,500 to get started.
Mr. Body, did you want to make a motion at this time?
Yeah, I make a motion, we send this on to full council for recommendation of approval.
Thank you, Mr. White. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion at this time? Hearing none, all those in favor of forwarding to full council the resolution to approve a contract with Burley Group LLC for the construction management contract, say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries. Excellent. So that brings us back all the way through new business and back to public comment. Seeing none in council chambers, none online. Mr. Mackey.
No, Madam Chair.
All right, committee concerns. Committee concerns, what do we have on adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned at 7:55.
Okay, at this time, I'll call the building codes committee to order. It is 7:56 p.m. and present, as well as BDS Director David Gearhawk and our city administrator, Mr. Brandon Madden. I do want to thank Mr. Matney for chairing last month while I was away. Next, we have public comment. Is there any public comment?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, go here on reading of approval of minutes for September this time.
Move for
Right. All in favor, say, oh, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. So reports or communications from city officers, Mr. Gearhawk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll give you just a few different reports tonight. First, you've heard from some of the other departments on how their budget is doing. As you've heard, the ideal remaining percent right now would be 75%. In our department, we have 82% remaining of our budget, so we're in good shape. We've been busy as usual lately. It's kind of our new normal now for our department. We, for the second month in a row, set the record for the number of building inspections that we did this last month, and our permits continue to remain high. The last thing I'll report on is one of our employees moved to the Public Works Department, Megan Ramsey. And so we're in the process of adding a new person to our team to our position. And if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer those for you.
Anyone have any questions? There's no unfinished business, so we'll go on to the new business. First is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Gail C. Charles and Sarah S. Coates and located at 220 Fowler Circle. Mr. Gearhawk, you want to take this?
Sure, I'll give you a little brief report on this agenda item. This represents about 10 acres. It's located over by Sunset Park on Fowler Circle. The tract right now is in the county and it's zone RS, which is residential suburban. They have requested to come into the city with a new assignment for their zoning as RM1, which is a mixed residential. This tract touches the corner of Sunset Park diagonally across the street, and also on the very back part, tip of it touches a property that's undeveloped currently, known as the Lakewood Holdings site. With regards to the utilities, there is not sewer presently available at this property, but the representative for the applicant, which is Zenith Real Estate, they expect to extend this existing sewer line in Fowler Circle to reach this tract. Due to the topography of the site in relation to the existing sewer line and lift station will also be needed. There's been no study yet to determine the fee that will need to be levied on the future homeowners in order to be able to support the ongoing costs associated with the lift station. But as you may be familiar, it has been the city's recent practice to levy a fee on property owners that will be using the lift station. Track's currently located in the Mauldin Fire Service area and will continue to receive services from the Mauldin Fire Department. The RM1 zoning district is a medium density residential district. It's intended to provide single family living, which could include both detached and attached single family homes, referred often as attached single family homes as townhomes. The maximum density that's allowed in the RM1 zoning district is 12.5 units per acre. Right now, there's no preliminary plan that we're aware of for the development of the tract, but the applicant has indicated they anticipate developing this property for about 50 to 80 townhomes with an average sales price in the mid-200s. In the city's comprehensive plan, it does call for low density residential at this area consisting of single family homes. But this tract is right next to the edge of an area designated for medium density residential. So I guess it depends on how you want to look at that. You could say that, no, we want this to remain single family and low density, in which case the zone isn't really supported by the comprehensive plan, or you could look at it and say that, well, this is right on the edge of kind of where we were anticipating having medium density residential, and in which case this goes right in line with that. As far as the projected sales price for homes in this project in the mid-200s, that's the only other comparable project in the area in Fowler Circle is the Parkside Villas, and those sales prices have been lately in the mid to high 100s. So this project would be a considerable increase over that. And that the last thing is we did run a very simple fiscal analysis on this. Again, we don't have a lot of information or detail yet about what the development will be for this tract, but using some rough approximate numbers, it looks like this will have the annexation of this tract have a neutral fiscal benefit to the city, pretty much full break even as far as the taxes we would collect versus the services we would have to provide. And that's the summary of the report that the staff has for this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Bureau. Does anyone have questions?
Move the board, Mr. Council, for recommendation for approval.
Okay. Wait a second.
I'll second. Looks good.
Okay, all right, discussion?
David, with the lift station, where would this go back to Butler or back down to National Bridge? I ended to the lift station.
From what I understand, and there are applicants here tonight, so gentlemen, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong here, but from what I understand, it would lift the sewer back up Fowler Circle towards Butler Road. That's a correct statement. Yeah,
There's no avenue for gravity flow on the backside of it.
No.
What about the road?
There's no, so it
State road.
goes down the other direction.
I know that's not about the road itself. Improvement on the road.
Oh, we don't know anything yet as far as if they'll be doing any improvements on the road. There's not, because there's no preliminary plan yet that we've seen, there's also not been any traffic impact analysis done that we've seen. Now, granted, if the number of homes in here doesn't exceed 100 homes, it won't trigger the city's requirements for a traffic impact analysis or study. So I guess all that to say, there, according to the city's regulations, they may not be required to do any improvements to the road.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any questions, Mr. Matt? Do you think that we need to hold this same committee until a study's been done for the lift station? For the cost and fees?
I don't have a problem moving it forward tonight, and if council needs to hold it, it can, but I don't know that there's a real need to hold it in committee tonight.
All right, all in favor of moving this on to the council for review and approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are no opposed, so the ayes have it. All right, next on our agenda is an ordinance to adopt a revised business license ordinance and ordinance with the Business License Standardization Act. Mr. Darrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So several of you on council may be familiar that this year, all the cities really throughout the state of South Carolina have been working towards conforming with the new Standardization Act from the state regarding business licenses. This includes adopting the rate schedule for how different businesses are classified and what rates will be applied to them. Essentially, throughout the state, what they would like to see is that all the same types of businesses are on the same type of rate schedule. It doesn't mean that they'll all be charged the same rates. Each municipality may have their own rates, separate rates that they apply, but they should all be in the same classes. And so the staff has been working very hard with the municipal association for several months now to get this ready, this being the ordinance ready to come before council. We've had to go through a lot of our business license data, made some corrections and make sure that it's accurate so that the rebalancing analysis that the municipal association performs is a good analysis. And what I mean by the rebalancing analysis is as these different businesses may shift into new classes, that could potentially affect the revenue that's received by the city. And the state law has been established such that the cities are not allowed to get a windfall or experience extra revenue as a result of this exercise of potentially putting businesses in new classes. So we have finished that analysis with the municipal association. We have shown that the city would lose some revenue as a result of this exercise of moving some businesses to new rate classes. In fact, it would be to the tune of nearly $36,000, and that's an annual figure. What the law does allow the city to do is to adjust its rates so that it mitigates the revenue loss. So you have the option of increasing your rates. The municipal association staff has gone through an exercise and proposed how our rates could be adjusted to receive revenue neutrality, meaning that we would raise the rates enough so that the city doesn't lose any revenue as a result of this rebalancing effort. And I've provided for you in your reports how those rates would be adjusted. And essentially what we're talking about is each business, as part of their business license fee, is charged a base rate. And then there's an added amount that they are charged based on how much revenue they report over $2,000. And that additional fee is kind of on a per $1,000 basis. So for an example, you might be charged 90 cents, an additional 90 cents on your business license fee if you make an extra $1,000 over the initial $2,000 that constitutes the base rate. In all, the adjusted rate per 1,000 has been adjusted by the municipal association in the range of between 1 cent and 8 cents, depending on the rate class following, in order to receive, or for the city to achieve revenue neutrality. What this council or the committee and the council have the option of doing is to say, one option is to say, we're going to just keep our rates how they are, and we're going to eat that loss. So you can do that. Or you can say we're going to increase our rates to make up for the revenue loss. And what the municipal association has shown in the staff report is one way to do that. We can play around with those rates if you like in different ways. And they've given me a little spreadsheet that I can plug and play with to essentially play around with it and figure out if we can still make revenue neutrality in other ways by considering different adjustments to the rates. But the municipal association did comment is that they saw in our current rate structure, for the most part, we go up a nickel in those adjusted rates from all the classes except for one, and between rate class 3 and 4, there's a 10-cent jump, whereas in between all the other rate classes, there's a 5-cent jump. So in their exercise of trying to propose some new rates we could consider, they tried to smooth that out a little bit, and that's why you see a little bit of variance in which rates went up and by how much. So that's one part that I'll need some feedback from the council or the committee, is if you want us to consider any other different modifications to the rates. What you have in your draft ordinance tonight is the rates that were recommended by the municipal association. So if you do want to do anything different from that, we would need to know, and then we can go and analyze however you might like us to adjust the rates, or if you would like us not to adjust the rates at all. The model or the ordinance itself is based on the model ordinance that's been prepared by the municipal association. There were some differences in this model ordinance from what the city's current ordinance has and what the city's current practices have been. Some of those have been left out of the ordinance at the recommendation and advice of the municipal association and their legal counsel. And some of them, the municipal association have said is okay for us to incorporate into the ordinance. So some of those have been added to the model ordinance for the city of Mauldin. I'll briefly highlight what those adjustments were, or the differences were. The changes that have been added to the model ordinance for the city of Mauldin are the license expiration, or I'm sorry, this is one difference we had from the model ordinance. Our license expiration was December 31st. By state law, it has to be April 30th. That's not a big deal for the city of Walton because we had set our renewal deadline for April 30th. The main difference this will make will be for businesses like contractors. They normally don't renew their license until when they have a new job. And so all this means is instead of them renewing their license after January 1 for any new jobs they have after January 1, they won't have to do that until after April 30th. In the meantime, in this first little period between January 1 and April 30th, they'll just have to upgrade their license, which is a normal practice for the contractors anyways. But the things that we have added to the model ordinance based on what our practices have been is to continue to require the documentation of income taxes to verify or confirm the gross revenues that businesses are reporting, to provide an early payment discount, which is a 2% discount that the city offers to businesses that renew their license on or before February 15th, and the business license fee abatement incentive program that it offers to new industry and those types of businesses that bring manufacturing jobs to the city. A few of the differences that have been eliminated from our current code in order to conform with the model ordinance are the late penalties. No, I'm sorry. That was one that we also added to the model ordinance. Our late penalties are a little different from the model ordinance. We charge a 10% late penalty with a $25 processing fee. The model ordinance had provided a 5% late penalty with no processing fees. So we did carry that into the new model ordinance. But going back to the things that we did not carry in were the court fines. We had set ours at $750. The model ordinance was set at $500, and the 500 set by the model ordinance is based on state law. The hearing time for appeals, our current ordinance said that the council would hear appeals within 30 days. The model ordinance provides for 10 business days, and that's based on the study of recent case law done by the municipal association. So those are the two differences that we made to the city's ordinance in order to conform it. Sorry, that was a lot to give you an overview of this, but I wanted to make sure you had a good picture of all the adjustments that are being made to the business license ordinance for the city. This has been a lot of work this year to go through this and get this right. Certainly, I'm glad to answer any questions that you have about this, or if you'd like to make any recommendations of things we consider different.
Questions or recommendations from Mr. Newcomb?
David, has this been through the legal department?
It's been through the legal department for the municipal association. No.
Just make the motion whenever you want me to. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we forward the revised business license ordinance to full council for discussion and approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of sending this to full council, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, none opposed, so the motion carries 3-0. Next is public comment. Do we have any public comment?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any promotions, comments? Hearing none, what do I hear on adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is the exception.